always looks like you're at an event having a good time, giving a recap.
Team members actually have reached out and been like, what are you doing, brunching all day?
Well, your day-to-day does not look anything like what I see on LinkedIn then.
Oh, man. Listen, I've got my head
buried in paperwork.
I've got my head buried in paperwork and Excel spreadsheets and P&Ls and balance sheets.
Welcome back to The Doers, the podcast where we dive into the real stories of the leaders out in the field, building, struggling, and thriving in dentistry. I'm your host, Dan Hall. This week, I have with me Craig. He's in the trenches, working as business development, leading the team, looking for practices that are looking to affiliate with a good partner to help grow their business. And Craig, welcome to the show. Appreciate taking time out to meet with me.
I am honored to even be invited. I was just telling someone recently how I appreciate how crisp your content is and the topics that you are putting out. I watch a lot of it. I need to support more of it. We need to do more of it. And I'm glad that we made the time.
Yeah. So. I'm really glad we got to do this today. So tell me about this. Like, how did your path land where you're at today? Because I see you put out tons of content. You're talking about people that are looking to maybe sell their practice, affiliate with somebody that can help them grow, maybe exit, whatever their plan is, where they're in their life journey. How'd you land where you're at today?
Yeah, the inception, like you and I've talked about, is really a zigzag. When you're not a dentist, you touch so many pieces of the dental practice. You know, I thought I was going to be a dentist, ended up with a business degree, but you know, it's a journey that's probably been told so many times over and over and over with a lot of advisors, consultants, coaches. It's, you know, dental assisting, it's treatment planning, it's, you know, billing, it's all the things that a dental practice, you know, could offer for anyone who's not a dentist. And then inevitably you end up somewhere in a corporate home office or a C-suite position. And so it's just a growth over time. And I'm happy to be where I'm at. I think that dentistry is an amazing vehicle for people who are non-dentists.
Okay. So if some people listening or watching don't know your background though, I mean, you're coming out of the trenches in the dental practice. So, right.
Absolutely.
Like you've gone through the struggles that some of these groups that are looking to
operationally
get rid of
scale
are looking for somebody like you.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. What was one of the hardest things when you were back in that past role in the practices?
Oh, you know, geez, we probably can go into this a little bit later, but I'll touch on it now. Is, you know, I was talking to my uncle who was the former CFO of MD Anderson down in Houston. It's a big cancer hospital. And we were having a conversation and I said, you know, Uncle, it's like, Josh, you know, when we had one dental practice, it was dentistry. It was truly dentistry. You know, you feel very connected to the patient, the teams, the supplies, like all the things that it's just dentistry, right? Mm-hmm. And then as you scale into 2 and 3 and 4, and it just like starts 10xing, it felt like you're in the people business and you're putting out fires. And this is the hardest thing that I talk about. It's like, you know, you're dealing with people now and it doesn't feel so much like dentistry. And so as I told my uncle, I said, you know, gosh, it feels like I'm in the people business, you know?
And are you now talking about the people on the other side helping you run the business more so than everything. The patient side?
Yeah,
or both together?
Of course. Yeah, okay. Now you're dealing with teams versus patients. And so he said, Craig, you've always been in the people business. You just didn't know it. And so that was very I was just like, that flipped my mind immediately. I was like, wow, even when we were one dental practice, it was always the people business. But those are real struggles that you go through, is just being able to scale and figure out, you know, what is it? What is it really about? And dentistry, again, it's just a vehicle. So
yeah,
it's been a good journey.
So as you're out there and you're doing all this work, right, and you're finding those people that want to partner and maybe offload some of the people to a good partner, right? So then having to manage that and spend a little bit more time on the patients. What I've been seeing in the space, and people are talking about other DSOs at the moment, there was a time with the highest bidder. Mm-hmm.
Annoying.
Okay. What's making that shift? Like, what's driving it now? Because now we hear more people talking about looking for the right partner to either help them grow or help make a good handoff for their legacy, right? There's a lot of people that have spent the majority of their life building this business and they want to put it in the hands of the right person, or they're going to stay around and they want to grow. So what's shifted there?
Shoot. You know, with there's a couple of things I'm going to talk about. One is that we're not all in this together, right? And I think that's really important for people to understand is, you know, we're using the same vehicle, dentistry, to get to a place down the road, but we're not all in this together, which is fine. And that's where partnerships become a little bit interesting, whether that's, you know, being a dental assistant, a MBA CEO, whether it's being the dentist, any part of the practice that you're going to touch, everybody's in it for them. right? I mean, and you're dealing with turnover, you're dealing with a lot of different things. And so, what I'm seeing with some of this is, you ever heard the word indentured servitude?
Yes.
When we talk about highest bidder. So imagine you're the highest bidder and you're buying into this idea of whatever group that you're joining, and you've got the highest bid, but now they've saddled you with a lot of debt you didn't ask for. They're throwing cone beams into your practice. They're buying $80,000 lasers. They're giving you benefits that possibly you don't need at the age of 65, right? So this is what makes every partnership really unique. It's like, if you're 65, are you looking to get a ton of CE paid for? Are you looking to get any health benefits? I mean, to a young guy who's 28, 35, 48, it's a lot different. And so, I love that there are different, I'll call them vehicles out there, again, of groups. There's just different dental partnerships that make sense for you. And I'm happy about that. I'm glad that there's a lot of opportunity for dentists to be able to join at different, paths in their lives.
Sure.
But that's the way it should be. And but I would be very careful about highest bidders, because they're going to probably saddle you with some kind of debt that you didn't ask for. Again, probably pay you undercompensated wages based on some type of benefits that they offer. And is that what you're looking for at the age of 65? Probably not.
Curious. So as you're talking to a future partner, how often does EBITDA come up?
Not very often, because most dentists don't they don't understand the EBITDA. It's we play in a field, you and I and a lot of people on LinkedIn and in C-suite positions. The general partner doesn't understand the sophistication that we play in every day and every week. These dental practices are just trying to answer the phones, get new patients, pay their bills, all the things. They're not thinking about all of the AI and the tech and the metrics and all the things. They're probably not thinking about the benefits. And, some of these larger groups out there today, I get very confused about how, fractured you can be in your PMS softwares and different things. So EBITDA to me is something that we talk about, but probably not the general public.
No, yeah, I could see it. I mean, I love it. I got some finance background and whatnot. I get the term, but I've always, it gets thrown around a lot in our space.
I tell you what,
I wonder how many understand.
If a private practitioner is talking to a broker, they get dangerous enough to mention it, but not understand it.
Sure.
Well, I should be selling for 4 times, 6 times, 10 times EBITDA. And it's like, do you really even know what, we can make the numbers look however we want to make them look, but ultimately, that's not something that comes up a whole lot.
And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I think I might have this question a little bit further down, but you guys say you look to help them grow, if I'm not mistaken, right? See, where's their opportunity to help this practice do more versus leverage it, EBITDA or something, right? Yeah.
And what do we know, right? Like, again, I think that there's a variety of people and groups out there that do it differently. For us, we really like to look at these practices that maybe, ailing, failing, or possibly just struggling to scale.
Okay.
And underperforming. There might be some leadership issues there, but we look for some of those practices. We can turn those pretty quickly. We can bring in our teams and help them scale pretty quickly. And, again, I'm going to tell you, like, what do I know? There's a company here in Dallas, probably one of the biggest in the industry, that has built their entire model on acquisitions and not really touching operations, but buying at the 2 million plus valuations, these practices that are just knocking it out of the park. And so, I think that there's a lot of different ways to do it. You don't have to just do it one way.
Sure.
But we're certainly someone that you can reach out to if you're a private practice, doctor, if you're a small emerging, and saying, hey, listen, I've got this one practice I'm looking to do too. We love humble and hungry.
Okay.
And so if we can find someone who's saying, hey, listen, at the age of 45, 35, I'm looking to do this over the next 15, 20 years, and I want to scale, but I don't want to do it alone because I want to mitigate risk, right? I don't want to have a ton of debt. And also, I'm pretty good at doing dentistry, but I'm not great at doing everything. And that's where a partnership makes sense. Again, if you're looking to earn too, like for us, we make sure that our doctors win first. The conversation about indentured servitude is some of these larger groups give you way more benefits and less pay. So where are you at in your journey? Do you need that at 65? Do you
sure.
Do you, right?
Yeah.
So,
that's great though. That's a good sign of a partnership, right? When you're taking everything into consideration.
I think being a massive fan too. Like if you are a private practitioner and you're looking to partner with any group out there, I think you should be a big fan of that particular brand. We talk about brand all the time. And if people are joining Google, NVIDIA, or whoever, right? Snapchat, they want to work for these big companies. I would expect that they know exactly who they are, and they're massive fans of those brands, and they want to work for them because of something. And so, be a massive fan. I mean, I can go get a job anywhere, and but I saw Dr. Brad Hughes and Vision Dental Partners online, and I saw what they were putting out, and I was like, I'm a fan, right?
Yeah.
And you know what that created once I joined? Alignment immediately. Because I understood kind of what the message was, like where they were going.
Well, you know what you're going into work for every day.
So
right?
So why not do that with a group?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's shift gears. Now I'm just curious about the deals that fall apart. I mean, we're talking all this good stuff about, hey, how to find the right partner, but I'm sure even if you find the right partner, I'm sure some deals go south. Now, I don't want you to talk about any particular deal. I'm just curious, like what the number one thing you see as you're going through the due diligence, or maybe you're sitting at the final table.
Yep.
What typically makes something go south?
I'm here to testify. That deals do fall through. So we're not immune to that. It happens, but it's usually a misrepresentation of something, right?
Okay.
Whether it's numbers, hygiene, EBITDA, which,
EBITDA pops up.
I love that brokers are always like, listen, this office is, has $300,000 in EBITDA and they're producing 900. I'm like, well, that's amazing. Like that might be the first practice ever to have, that I know of to have that much EBITDA and such a small revenue. But, it's always a misrepresentation of something, and it gets emotional. And so that's where, if we're having a conversation and we're trying to, and what helps is communication. This is also probably part of our conversation, is that communication helps. And if we can have those very transparent and open conversations with either the broker, the doctor, then we can work past those things. But, it's always a misrepresentation of something.
Somebody got the numbers wrong somewhere. It boils down, right?
Or it could be, and I'll just, have fun with this. It could be just a spouse. Sometimes a spouse will mess up a deal, if there's some misalignment in the conversation of partnership and marriage. There might be a landlord from hell that we have to renegotiate a lease on, and they're just not budging.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, a lot of that happens.
Well, when we're looking at a deal, let's pull the curtain back a little bit further. So when you go into that deal process, what's something that people aren't considering that goes into finding that right practice, having those conversations to move a deal forward? Like, what's that process look like?
It's a lot of digital paperwork. And this is where doctors, especially, and sellers get frustrated. It's interesting to me that whenever I deal with people, so Vision Dental Partners, Dr. Brad Hughes, we've created a very robust due diligence list on how we source things, how we look at things. It's not just, hey, what's your production and collections? I mean, it goes deep. We look at a lot of different things. We run UCC reports. We try to figure out what their debt is, their leases, their vendors. I mean, it goes into a lot of stuff. But a lot of people don't do that. I've talked to brokers, I've spoken to doctors, and they're just like, man, what's with all the information? Why do you need all of this stuff? And it's like, if we're looking at hygiene numbers and metrics and demographic and all the things, and other people are not, like, I'm curious to know, and maybe I don't, like, maybe we're overkilling things, but.
Well, so your day-to-day does not look anything like what I see on LinkedIn then.
Oh, man. Listen, I've got my head
buried in paperwork.
I've got my head buried in paperwork and Excel spreadsheets and P&Ls and balance sheets and, vendors. That's a nightmare for me is working through the vendor transition lists. Yeah, when you're looking at vendors, because you get tied into these contracts. So if we're going through due diligence and somebody's like, well, you're with so-and-so, this particular PMS, or you're with this particular marketer, who's got you on contract for the next 12 months. And now we either have to, absorb that cost, or we have to talk about how to separate it without, legal issues, or IT companies.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'm looking at a lot of that stuff day to day.
I was saying, it always looks like you're at an event and having a good time, giving a recap. But
that's funny. You know what? Team members actually have reached out and been like, "What are you doing, brunching all day? Like, what the hell?" And I'm like, "No, listen. I find time to do content, and sometimes, I don't want it to be behind a computer looking at numbers. I want it to be at a restaurant or a nice, relaxing place."
Yeah.
They're like, Craig's out brunching all day, just talking to people like Dan.
No, I get the same thing. They're like, "Are you ever home? You're always traveling." I'm like, no, a lot of that's just queued up and like pushed out a little bit down the road. Make it look like you're running both. No, that's really cool. So you guys just have that really robust sheet. Shocking to hear that others don't. Like there's got to be a lot of gotchas once they acquire something and run into all these contracts or.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? And I feel like we have the advantage because we are a small emerging group that we have speed to market. Like we can make offers pretty quickly. But who's doing it faster than us? I don't know. Like I can get one turn. If you can get me the appropriate information, which is a very limited amount of information, and then us be able to put together an LOI, it's like 24, 48 hours. As long as I have the right information, I can do it very quickly.
Fast.
Very quickly. You know, now relationally, there's always that other piece, right? You know, so is this a buyout where, you know, the relationship isn't as important, or is this going to be a partnership where we have to say, hey, listen, now that we've agreed on at least the numbers, what makes sense relationally for us to have a conversation and sit down and talk and do it either by Zoom or in person?
Well, how do you do that portion then? How do you get to know them to understand the human?
This is the part that also pisses me off, especially with brokers, is I'm going to tell you, and much further probably in our conversation is, you know, what are people getting wrong? And I think it's not talking to the community first, not calling me first, not calling a group first. If you're a massive fan of a group, call them, talk to somebody on their M&A team. But brokers are going to tell you, don't talk to the buyers. You know, they're just going to, you know, nickel and dime you down and talk to you about, you know, why your practice isn't worth this. Why a lot of people are holding very tight, you know, the access to doctors and saying, hey, we'll talk to them for you. Right. And not, like, I mean, relationally, if we're going to have this 5-year, 7-year turn or term, then we need to get to know you.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Why
You're
not
working with the broker for 7 years? They're out, I'm guessing, right after the deal closes.
These guys, you know, listen, they get nervous about giving too much access to the seller.
Okay.
And also, I think there's a lot of deal confusion. Whenever a broker brings them 3-4 different groups, and this one does this, that one does this, it's like, this one's the highest bidder, da-da-da-da. And by the way, let's not be naive about it. You know, there are people out there that are saying, I like this one better for you because it's the highest number, right?
Sure.
I mean, that's happening. But at the end of the day, it's like, give me access to this doctor and private practice doctors call, like reach out to the groups, have conversations. You can shop the boats, you know. Another Texas term I think, you know, I've heard in the past is, you know, shop the boats. Like when you want to go buy a boat, you don't just go buy a boat. You go look at a couple of boats. You got to figure out, you know, the hull and the stereo system and the wake, how it, you know, and you're going to do that a couple of times. You're going to look at couple of different boats, but yeah, go shop the boats, man. Talk to people.
Especially with such a big decision.
Crazy. Oh,
I mean, this is probably the biggest one they might make in their life outside of.
If it's going to tie into a partnership, for sure. You know, again, at the late, you know, call it the exit years of maybe 65, 70, 75. Those things might not be as important, right?
Sure.
And it's just like, hey, like I don't care if I lose a couple $100,000 on this deal. I'm just ready to get cashed out. You know, and so there's different. Again, every deal is so unique, it's so different. But it's fun. That's what makes it fun.
Okay, so something you and I talked about a couple weeks ago. I think we were on a phone call or maybe just texting back and forth. And it kind of goes into what you're talking about just now of maybe changing things. You had this term, I think it was what if. I'm curious like where that's coming from because I'm likening that a little bit here to what if these brokers did a little bit different
yeah, sure.
and understood we got to build this partnership to make sure this thing's going to work and it doesn't fall apart at the table right at the very end. What did you mean when we were talking about that? I mean, you had a couple of examples.
Yeah. I won't share all the secrets because the what if is really kind of my R&D and whether it gets deployed or not is not really my decision. But, you know, it's 6 years ago, I was saying, what if we took away some of the front desk, I call it responsibility or even maybe even personnel, right? Like what if we took some of them away and we went AI and we brought in tech to answer phones or to do this or to do that. And we went possibly without front desk altogether as an extreme what if. Now today, that's more realistic than it's ever been.
Sure.
And in 6 years from now, it'll be like a no-brainer. They'll be like, why did we not? I mean, we were talking about this 6 years ago, you know, and my current CEO was just like, that doesn't make sense at all. And here we are today. It's more relevant than ever. And so those are some of the what if questions. And I wish that dentistry spent more time doing some R&D and not punishing people because of it, right? Because listen, you can have a pretty bad idea.
Oh, sure.
in a what if session. And that's what I say. Hey, listen, man, this is a what if session. This is like, brainstorming. We're just having a conversation. And by the way, all the wrong answers are the right answers, right? But don't punish me if it's a bad one, because there's going to be something in there where you go, okay, that was a great answer. Okay, but what if, again, for example, what's one of the biggest, and this is just, I'm going to answer it for you, but what if we tied the ownership of the practice back to the dentist? Because that's what's been pulled away from historical practice versus modern practice today, is the dentist is now becoming this person who says, well, I joined a group to not be the leader. And you've got these groups that are saying, hey, we need you to grow the practice, doctor. And it's like, yo, you guys told me I was going to join and not have to really do anything. Like, okay, so now we've got to get to this point of like, okay, so what if we hired to help share the burden, that regionals deal with and operations people deal with? And one of the biggest things that they deal with is buy-in. Buy-in's huge. I hear that all the time. They're like, oh, we got to have more buy-in. We got to have more buy-in. So how do you solve for that? How do you incentivize the doctor into becoming more bought in? Like, number one, recruiting is going to be big when I talk about, hey, if you're a massive fan of this brand already and you're joining the company, you're going to have buy-in. I mean, it's going to be there, right? Like some form of buy-in. And then from there, it's how do I incentivize this doctor to now become basically an operator and a dentist? So that's the what if. It's like, solve for that. How can we get there? But the associate run model of the old days of calling, Dan, 1-800-DAN, right? Like, I need you to fix this. I need you to fix that. Yeah. My IT's down. My this is that. It's like, oh, that's exhausting for operators. And it's tough because, if you didn't have those people, you'd find a way to fix it.
It's a good approach, though. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, they're selling their practice. They were that person. It's not much of a mind shift, right? Because you're probably taking a lot of the monotonous tasks off their plate. You're just essentially, if I'm hearing you right, asking them to be a brand ambassador, help grow the business, and pull those people along that you guys are probably coaching on the backside, giving the tools to sharpen their skills, do a little bit better, maybe offloading some of that work as well through tech.
Yep.
And maybe centralized teams as you guys continue to grow.
Yeah.
That'd be a smart approach versus
which for us, it's tech. You mentioned tech, but I mean the structure and the systems are just the bonus. They shouldn't be the thing, which is, I think people get that wrong, where they're like, hey, listen, we have these amazing systems. We have these amazing structures in place and all these things. And it's like, yeah, that's great, but it's still going to take people. It's still going to take leadership.
Yes.
It's still going to take soft skills, so that's probably one thing that I think people are overvaluing is structure and systems and undervaluing soft skills and leadership. So, if I had to, send my endorsement out to Dr. Brad Hughes, it's soft skills, leadership, and brand.
I hear you. I preach that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, especially as tech continues to evolve, and it's like, okay, we're not going to replace, we're going to augment this process.
It's the bonus.
Yeah.
It's the bonus, man.
And
I mean, listen, I still live in a little bit of Excel hell, but,
with your diligence sheet.
Yeah. But, it's getting better whenever you look at, some of these, call it part of my job of biz development. When we're doing CRM, we're having to, keep track of who we're calling and what the touch point was and what the conversation is that we had. And, what time do we circle back? Is this a hot lead, warm lead, cold lead? And a lot of that stuff can automate for me and send out messages and emails. And I don't have to manually think about that. Now naturally and innately, I'm already a very good relationship person. So I can do that. I can reach out to people, and we're still small enough that we can do that. But, as we scale, a lot of those automations in tech are going to have to be there.
Wow. It's a cool perspective. Kind of like answered one of my questions I was going to answer about the future, but I think you already covered that timeline. I think it's 6 years. To shift gears over to you, right? You're super busy. You're doing all this diligence. You're helping grow this DSO. DSO or DPO?
We call it a DPO.
DPO, okay.
Dental Partnership Organization.
Dental Partnership, okay. Want to make sure I get that term right. What do you do to disconnect and recharge Craig as a human? Besides brunch.
I love talking about my wife and primarily talking shit about my wife. And so I'll say being abused by my wife verbally, no. Emotionally, no. Yeah, listen, I go to the gym 6 days a week. So CrossFit is a huge outlet for me. Every Friday at lunch, my wife and I have dinner, so it's trying to balance that time. But man, I'm such a homebody. People would be really surprised at what I do week to week.
Okay.
I'm not a big drinker. I don't drink a lot. I'll have a social drink here or there, but it's just downtime. It's just literally, I'll read a book. I've got some, church stuff that I do. But listen, if people are worried about the future and Big Brother and government being able to watch you, I'm okay with that, because they're going to get real bored seeing me at work, at the gym, or at home.
There's nothing too exciting.
Yeah, they're just going to be like, dude, get rid of this guy. Like, don't follow
those are
him.
good, healthy outlets. Good for you, man.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks for joining me today. I mean, I really appreciate taking the time out, have a chat. Before we leave, though, like, what's one piece of advice for anybody listening, watching, that they should be doing if they're seriously thinking about partnering with the DPO, DSO, all these different models that exist out there?
Yeah.
What would be your number one piece of advice?
Start early, right?
Okay.
And this is just very cliche, but also get active, man. It frustrates the hell out of me that these doctors that are either on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and there's not enough on LinkedIn, I don't think, but they've got to get active. You have to get active. The most people that I see that are attracted to us, that understand us the most, are active with us, right? And same thing with our vendor partners, right?
Okay.
Like, if you're active with us and you're understanding where we're coming from, our message, you're going to become a massive fan, and you're going to want to have a conversation. And so I just think, get active, do it early and often, and then shop the boats. Right.
Shop the boats.
We just want to be one of those that you happen to look at and say, hey, is this something that makes sense for my future, my family? And so, we're here to help people with that journey.
Okay. How should they reach out to you? They want to have a chat with you.
Hey,
one of the boats.
Yeah, LinkedIn. I just got Instagram, TikTok, and I think Facebook. But yeah, call me on my cell, DM me on any of those social platforms. Craig@visiondentalpartners.com.
Yeah, you're super responsive. I know on LinkedIn, that's
I'm going to
respond.
respond.
You down, right?
I'm going to respond, dude.
Yeah.
Like, look, you came to town. I said, I'm here. I'm here for you.
I know.
Like, you just tell me when. I'll make
That's
time.
2 times in a row in Dallas that we've gotten together.
Absolutely.
We'll have to do another podcast, like a version 2. You have to give me some more backstories on good deals, bad deals.
I just want to chop it up. I just want to talk what if stuff.
Whatever. Yeah.
And let's be wrong on a lot of things, and then maybe we can watch it back in 20 years and go, hey, we were right on a couple of.
I want to hear about your pilot. Like, you pilot some of this stuff, and I think the ones that are the best story are the ones where it failed, because you learn so much more when you fail. If you hit success straight out of the gates, you just think you're great. It just boosts your ego, right? You don't learn a whole lot. That's my experience personally, working in tech this long.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. Great learning lessons, and a way to, like, pick your ass back up and get going.
Yeah, exactly. Scrape yourself up and do
tough
it again.
one. Yeah. Have you ever been knocked on your ass and you're like, all right, well, nothing left to do but just keep going now.
Go
like,
again.
Yeah, or you don't want to give up.
Well, cool, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah.
Thanks for everybody listening. Appreciate it. If you like the content, keep following us. And until next time, just keep doing the work.